Hey everyone, as you may know, I'm a huge fan of the Total War series, and if you've been following that series at all, you'll know that there's a ton of new stuff coming out. So one of the major things that's coming out in the Total War universe is going to be a new game called Total War Arena. That's been in development for quite some time. It was originally developed by Creative Assembly, but now Wargaming has come over, taken over the publishing duties, and they're the ones who are going to be sponsoring this video, so I want to thank them for that, and it's been awesome to see the progress. What happened just recently, in the 22nd of February actually, is that it entered open beta, so now everyone can hop in. It's a free-to-play game, 10 versus 10 multiplayer raffle stomp, essentially, where you take the highlights of Total War multiplayer battles and you just focus in on that, distill it, and make it pure fun. So that's what this game is. If you check the description below, you'll see a link that you can follow. If you click on that, it'll actually bring you to a bonus code that you can redeem, and that'll give you some in-game currency that you can then spend to help kickstart yourself, unlocking new units, commanders, and stuff like that. So that is the gist of this campaign, what we're doing today. But like I've said, I've been playing this game for a while, so this isn't just kind of like a shill campaign here. I do endorse this product, I really enjoy it, and I'm eager for the opportunity to share it with you. So let's go ahead and talk a bit more about how this game plays. Alright, so welcome to the dashboard within Arena. Here you can see my commander. So the main thing about this game is whoever you play as, you're going to select a commander, and then you can bring 3 units to the battlefield. Seems like a little, but all of them are going to have, target abilities, skill shots that you have to do, lots of micro, lots of stuff to be doing. So even with just 3 units, you're going to have your hands full. In terms of the units that you do bring, you have a lot of variety. We'll start with that. So the first thing I do want to point out is if you look here, these are essentially all the units, and you have different factions. So you're going to have the Greeks, you will have the barbarians, you have Carthage, which was recently added, and you will have the Romans. And you'll notice that when I toggle at each of these, you have different commanders. Each of those commanders you can unlock, and they'll have different abilities. So Kinani here has like archery volleys, Leonidas is more about holding the line, Miltiades is a bit more about speed, Alexander the Great has like hammer and anvil abilities, allowing him to lock units in place and strike heavily with cavalry. So each of these commanders, you'll notice, have different abilities. Greeks are going to be more about kind of skirmishing and holding the line, and pretty good cavalry. Barbarians are going to be pretty good infantry, pretty good cavalry, but a lot about stealth, etc. Carthaginians here have some pretty good infantry, and they actually have some elephants. And the Romans, as you'd expect, going to have some sturdy legionnaires and a whole bunch of auxiliary units. So each one has its own flavor and abilities. But essentially, what you do is once you decide to choose these commanders, you select it, and then you get the access to the units. The units here, you'll play with them, and as you play with them, you'll grind through and start to unlock, in-game currency. So if I click on one of these guys, for instance, you'll see that it pops up. The more battles I play, the more of the XP that I unlock. So there's specific XP to a unit, and once I get this XP, I can then invest it in more armor, pants, weapons, different things that'll boost your stats. And then once you've kind of progressed through the tier of the individual unit, you can progress onto the next tier. So let's go back here. So essentially what you're going to be doing is grinding to unlock more and more units. You go down this path. You will get gated. So essentially as you move down this tech tree, you'll notice that you'll be stopped by these various tiers. And so not only are you progressing in terms of your units, you're also progressing in terms of your commander. So I can't unlock tier 3 stuff until I get my commander to tier 3 abilities. So if I look at Arminius, looks like I'm getting pretty close to that. So I found that it's a pretty steady grind. It's pretty fun. I really enjoy it. And within a day, playing a couple matches, you can get pretty far along, at least in the early game. So yeah, that's generally how it works. I do want to show you maybe some of the units that are available for the various rosters. So if we look over at Kinani here, early tier stuff, she'll have access to archers and hoplites. But then as you move along, you'll get these, slingers, which have good range, armor piercing, etc. And you can get royal Spartans, excellent at holding the line, myrmidons. You can get silver shield pikemen. So really cool stuff. And then of course, heavy cav getting all the way up to cataphracts. If we look at the barbarians here, you start off the game with early tier cav, which is something pretty much exclusive to the barbarians early game. So that's an advantage they have. You can get infantry. And you'll notice as you progress up, the barbarians have a lot more in the way of attack and ambush. So some of their units here, they'll have, the Foxmen, which are pretty powerful, super high attack. The barbarians also have a tech path here that allows them to get war dogs, which are really good at chasing down units. I believe they can also ignore, defensive formation. So everyone has its own little niche. And here's a line of Foxmen, Decibalis guards. These guys have super high attack. So you'll notice there's niches everywhere. Everything can kind of counteract the other force. And then, yeah, cavalry as well. Looking at Hannibal, this one is pretty cool. I'm just starting to tech up. I really want to get towards the elephants. These are very powerful units, but come in very small sizes. He also has some pretty strong cavalry as well. And then finally, if you look at Rome, you can get Scipio Africanus, Julius Caesar. Sulla also was added not too long ago. All of these having unique abilities. But for now, I just have Germanicus. So you'll notice you can get actually, heavy infantry as you'd expect. Eventually you get auxiliaries. Here you can have some velites, essentially, skirmishers. But what's cool about the Romans is they actually have some artillery. So you'll notice just how much variety there is in the game. When you go into matchmaking, you'll be kind of tiered with people in a similar level to you. So it ends up being more balanced. And even as you progress, if someone has a really kitted out force, it doesn't mean that they're going to kill you no matter what. There really is a rock, paper, scissors in terms of units, and even if you are going to tend to lose a certain engagement, you can always pull out of it and beat them in terms of strategy, call for help, so I found it to be pretty fair. So now that we've described a bit of how it works, we can go into some gameplay. Also, some last note, so as you're kind of progressing, playing with units, unlocking certain things, you're getting XP. You can dump the XP into, upgrading your units, but then you'll also start to earn this free XP, and the free XP is what you use to level up your commanders. What you can do is you can actually use gold, which is kind of going to be your premium currency in the game, and the gold is stuff where you can, earn maybe a little bit of it over time, or you can put money in. Essentially what the gold is, it allows you to transition basically the unit-specific XP into free XP, and then use that to give you a little bit more versatility in terms of moving forward. Gold can actually, I believe, be used to unlock some of these units up here, and also, new commanders as well. You'll notice you can either accrue a lot of free XP, or you can purchase it outright. So that's kind of how the grinding works. I haven't played that much in terms of the recent beta reset to determine how grindy it is, but in my eyes, it's been pretty fair, and as a free-to-play game, this has a lot of content to it. Alright, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into a battle so I can show you how it plays out. Right now I've chosen Germanicus as my commander, and then I have 2 units of Pedites, these are swordsmen, and then I have an additional javelinman unit, so 2 swords, 1 jav, and pretty good variety. It allows me to hit a little bit at range anti-armor, and these guys are pretty stocky as well. So now that I have this selected, it's just as easy as hitting play, and then you just wait for it to queue up and assemble the players. We're going to be waiting for 10v10, and yeah, and then we'll get thrown into the action. Alright, you can see from the loading bar we have 10 players on either side. The countdown has begun. You'll start the battle with your 3 units here, and you choose where you want to deploy. So me as swords, I'll probably want to back a push up through the center. I'll go ahead and choose this position. The point of the game is you're trying to rack up as many points as possible. You have 15 minutes to do so. If no one really takes the capture points on either side, then it'll just tally the points and give the victory to whoever has the most points. So that is kind of the long run point tally. But most of the time people are going to be running for the instant victory, which is going to be to seize these capture points. So either team has one, and essentially what happens is you'll rush across the area. As soon as you stand within this ring, then you start capturing it. A countdown will appear, and the more units you have here, the quicker it decaps the flag. Once it gets down to full decap, then the point is yours and you win battle. Now you can respond to those pushes, so anytime you're in the capture point and you get attacked, you're going to essentially stop capping, and it will reset the cap a certain amount. So the more units you have in there, the quicker it'll cap, but then the more damage you take, the more you'll get decapped. So there's a bit of a balance there. And now you can see me moving forward with my units. I have 3. We're part of a larger force, people spreading out everywhere, doing their things. You'll also notice line of sight is important, so people are materializing kind of from the mist here. And what we're going to have to do is try and react. Looks like we have a force coming over there. So I'm going to try and get some units to hem that in. And yeah, basically you're going to move around your units, shift around, try and move in coordination with your allies. So it looks like here we're making a push. We have no range units, so I would say this is probably not a good position to be. They also have the watchtower, which means they can probably have visibility on me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull back from this position. Yeah, it looks like they're retreating, so we actually may be able to make a push here. So essentially, as the heavy Roman infantry, what you are going to be doing is making the kind of sturdy advance. Same thing with the spears. They're great from the front. So essentially, we're the meaty troops that are going to be seizing ground and holding it. It's hard to beat these guys back. But then what's going on is you'll see engagements underway here. Barbarians might go around the flank through the forest, go after archers. People are pinging this location. So for instance, cavalry might want to redeploy. Let me just keep an eye on my guys. Cavalry are going to redeploy and come after this position. So you'll be seeing all kinds of different cycling around in battle. These cav are going to be coming in, hit them from the rear. So morale is a factor. There's damage done here. The Romans are going to turn around and butt heads with these guys. So we're actually getting a pretty good victory here, but more reinforcements are on their way. So we're going to go ahead and commit to that fight. I'm going to abandon the top. Looks like cavalry and everything is sweeping to the left. We're holding the choke points. So overall, you can see in a single battle, there's multiple stages happening. So it can be quite interesting here as everyone tries to contest. We may even want to push the cap. Let's go ahead and push the cap just because I think this side is pretty good. Yeah, I'm trying to ping the cav to get those. Yeah, so it looks like the cav is going to respond to that, go after the archers, and that should be enough to clean up this mess. And then meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll push forward with my infantry, help us crack this choke point. So spears here are good at holding the line, but in the assault, they're not necessarily that good against legionnaires. So that's why I'm coming in with my own. And I have some Pila that I can use, and looks like that's enough to scare those guys off. So you can see how there's a lot of kind of rock, paper, scissors happening all over the places. Archer units are going to be important as well. And it looks like we're getting a pretty good across-the-board waffle stomp. Something that could happen at this point in time is the enemy could sneak some cavalry to the rear and start decapping our base, and that can actually force you, if you're steamrolling, to pull back to your base and really negate some of the advantages you have. So I'm going to try and reform to meet this. Okay, it looks like he's running away. I didn't want to engage too close to the woods, and looks like we have cav over there. So I'm going to chase, and we're going to go for the capture point here so you can see a bit of that. Oh, and get pillar volleys off on these guys and do a lot of damage. So there you can see he used his charge ability. It's a skill shot essentially. It forces the cavalry to charge. So cavalry can charge kind of automatically into battle, but there's a skill shot associated with, you know, charging and rolling people over. And so that's nice. It has a cooldown. It focuses a bit more of your attention. But here you go. We're in the enemy base, so the base is going to be decapping. The enemy can try and challenge this, so that's why they're coming back with their troops. So the nice thing here is these spears can come and bottle up this position, and I think we will have this one. So this is a pretty simple, straightforward battle. A lot of action still happening on the flanks, but in these cases, it's going to be really important to have a push here. So I'm going to have one unit sitting in the center to do the decap, and the rest are going to be positioned here. Start to get some shots on, and let's throw some peel at those guys. Let's pull him back to the safety of my guys, and we'll eat that up pretty handily. It looks like the battle has come to us on this flank. All our units are swarming as the enemy realizes the base is being capped. But you'll notice, because my guys got engaged, the cap was reset there. Ooh, and actually at this point we've cleaned up enough of these forces. I do want to show you a rear assault here onto this force. Let's clobber them. There we go. So this is going very much our way. I'm raking up a lot of points here. Yeah, so well, you'll see post-battle what ends up happening. Oh, looks like they're charging in. They really want to stop this cap. So as long as I stay unengaged, we'll be okay. And let's try and tell our ally to pull in and support me here. And there you go. Looks like they're going to leave me to my own devices. And we'll just go ahead and gobble that up. So yeah, we have this in the bag. The enemy army strength is below 100. We're over 400. So that's not a unit count indicator, but it's a relative indicator of your strength, and we're doing really well. So this has been a pretty straightforward battle. I think it's a good intro to the rock, paper, scissors, how things play out, and then how you can go for the cap. So now that we have this, it is ticking. You'll notice it's going very quickly because we have almost our entire army here. But still, you know, battles are raging across the field here on all sides. And I have to say, I really do love the maps here. Lots of intricacies, different areas to sneak around, line of sight, ambush positions, you know, vantage points. It's all really, really, really well designed. Something that I definitely appreciate. With that, the match ends, and once the match is over, it'll go ahead and give you a post-battle recap, tells you who is the top player. So it looks like actually we came out on top on that one, so that's pretty awesome. That should give us some good rewards, and then it'll dump us back into the main dashboard. It'll give us our rewards, and we can go ahead and collect and claim those. And then you'll spend those rewards on, you know, investing in new commanders and troops, etc. And yeah, we got a ton of experience in that one. Lots of individual unit XP. Here we get actual crowns and rewards. Earn 300 free XP in a single battle. Earn the most rewards from routing enemies in battle. Corona Obsidionalis here. Contributed the most to a team's battle performance. And then it tells you recaps on how many units you routed, eliminated, how many commanders you killed. So we did really good in that battle. That was pretty awesome. Score overall here, we got 6K. And I did lose a little bit for friendly fire, but I got points across the board here for not only aggression, defense, support, and also capture. I got a lot of points actually getting most of the cap on the enemy area, and then actually you get a nice breakdown here that tells you, how you contributed. And the thing I like about this is, yeah, you get some for aggression, but you get a lot of points for supporting your team, going for the capture. So really focusing on team cohesion and the objective play. And friendly fire is penalized. So overall, I really appreciate this system. We can see this free XP that I have there. I can go ahead and look at my squad, and let's go to my units. I can go to this guy here, and you'll notice we have 855. I can combine that with a little bit of free XP, and I can unlock this shield here, which will, for my javelins, give me some more armor, or block chance, I should say. So there you go. It gives me the option to buy, and now it's equipped on my forces, and I can continue to tech up. I'm trying to get to these catapults, so yeah. But that's it for this quick little intro. What we'll be doing is actually showing you some snippets of other commanders and other playstyles, so stay tuned for that. So we're going to start off here nice and simple, as you saw me just playing that previous match with the heavy infantry from the Romans. So what you'll be noticing as you play the heavy infantry, as I said in my commentary, is that you want to get into the thick of things. You are the meat of your army. You're going to be the one that can take a lot of punches, can deal it out, and you have these special abilities, like we said, the ability to do a charge, heavy infantry charge, can bowl over units, and does a lot of punishing damage, especially on the higher tiers as you unlock more and more units. Something we also showed you before in that little playthrough is the ability to have Pilla. So that's an ability you can toggle on, super helpful against light units like cavalry, and also even infantry as you're closing in and you want to engage in the skirmishing. So pretty versatile for infantry, but one of the things you'll notice also with infantry, you are kind of lumbering around. So in this case, what you're seeing is me doing a staggered retreat on this flank, trading units, tossing pillas, and just doing a slow retreat. But you'll notice here, even though I have 3 heavy infantry, which would do pretty well, without the support of heavy archer support or cavalry or anything, I'm forced to just do this delaying tactics. So you really can't go at it alone in this game. Perhaps cavalry can, because you have the ability to kind of choose your battles and get out, but everyone else is forced to kind of team up. So that's what you're seeing in this engagement here, is me doing a staggered defense and retreat, and then over on the right side of me on my flank holding the choke point, you can see just a single player with his 3 infantry stacked up, and you can see, yeah, maybe they can hold the front, but the overwhelming tide is going to start to wash over them, and they're going to get hit by a lot of forces. Later on in this push, we were forced all the way back to our capture point, and this is again where I've been forced back, by spears, etc. So you really want to look for that support. Now, you can toggle on and bring some other units. So here I'm showing a little bit of javelin play, again from the Romans. This build I've decided to just bring 3 javelins, and you can see just how quickly they waste these hoplites in close quarters. But what you probably want to do is don't go all javelins, because at least early game, people aren't really going to be supporting each other, or in the low tiers I should say. So you usually want to bring some sort of infantry force that you can hide behind. So that's what I like to do. Usually rock 1 or 2 skirmishers with at least 1 infantry force to hide behind and at least have control over. Now if you want to go a bit more range attacks, you can go ahead and bring Kinani here. She has some pretty great archers, especially as you tech them up. But again, if you want to bite off pretty aggressive forces like cavalry, you're going to have something to defend. So in this case, always bring some hoplites. You can see the second I form up in hoplite formation, the enemy peels off and I swivel around and fire at them. So yeah, you always want to keep your head on a swivel here and make sure that nothing gets at your archers. So this is me a little bit later, and I'm basically holding down the fort on top here, capturing the watchtower, keeping an eye on everything around us, and then just rebuffing enemy assaults on all sides of me, and like I said, locking down the side of the battlefield. So in all these battles, you'll find yourself in all kinds of different situations. In this one, for instance, we're having a heavy push, so I swivel it over to the right to try and help out. I'm able to get some early shots off against some archers, which are really giving us some trouble here. And I'm going to try and continue to lay down the suppressive fire, but those are 3 pretty heavy archer units, and now once they start to focus their gaze on me, I'm going to start to take pretty heavy damage in these exchanges. So this is where I'm going to want to call for help, do a staggered retreat, or choose some other option, perhaps seek cover in the dense foliage or something. But that's also another thing I appreciate about this game, is the fact that engagements can be drawn out. Usually in Total War battles, it's you slam your army into one another and then you wait for the battle to be over. Whereas in this engagement, because everyone is all about just their 3 units, you really micro them much more. Everything is much more dynamic. You have the ability to have early engagement skirmishing, pull back, retreat, fight another day, swap on over to another side of the battle, call for help. It feels much more dynamic, and I really, really enjoy that. I really thought that 3 units would be limiting, but you have more than enough on your hands in these engagements. And then finally, I'm going to show off a little bit of cavalry gameplay here with Arminius. Playing as cavalry is one of my favorite ones. Here I'm showing you a bit of a skill shot that you can use for the charge. In the early game, I like to use it just to get up ahead of the enemy. And in mirror deployment, it's important to see who gets to positions first, so I use that little charge just to give me a bit of a boost. It is on cooldown, so I can't take a charge, but that's fine. I'm here just for scouting. And you notice here on the Thermopylae map that there's going to be a lot of cavalry in the center. What you want to do as cavalry is basically do that early scouting and then look for opportunities to strike. So cavalry is really going to want to eat the archers. So I'm going to be showing some, splicing some clips of me just finding archers all throughout, and you can get in and out really quickly. So there, land a strike, take out, a third of the archers there, and then just pull out of those engagements. The rest of the time, you'll probably want to, after you've gotten your scouting, you've gotten some early kills, you're going to want to try and find opportunities to infiltrate the back line. So in this case, it looks like I found a little bit of an opportunity to strike at the rear, while the rest of my cav is going to be in the center. So while the enemy was distracted, I snuck in through the rear, and I'm going to strike. So this is kind of the most fun I find in Total War Arena, especially in low tiers where people aren't super, on top of things, is just cavalry. Oh my god, you can rake up so many kills against these archer blobs. And yeah, here, even with a little bit, a couple units, you can clean them up. And especially, you want to keep an eye out on the map for callouts or even artillery that are firing. Yes, they might be hidden by the fog of war, but you can actually see when the shots leave and kind of trace them back. So as cavalry, you don't only want to hunt for archers, but also high-value units like artillery, etc. So that is going to be the key role of the cavalry. Very, very important. And then later on, as you tech them up, you might be able to do actually, some actual combat against infantry. So here I'm showing me doing some hammer and anvil against these units. Going to pop all sorts of abilities and just slam into this massive units. Here I found a unit against some pikes, and I'm just going to charge into them. So, cavalry can do the traditional roles that you'd expect, but as the light barbarian cav, you're mostly going to be scouting and picking off archers. And it's only really later when you have the investment in, heavy cataphracts, etc., or if you're using Alexander, that you're really going to want to do those hammer and anvil blows. You also want to be keeping an eye on enemy cavalry because they're going to be seeking to do the same thing you are. So keep an eye on them and make sure that you're also going to be guarding your rear line. So here I'm being responsive, and I'm going to try and shut down an attempt of the enemy to lurk around the flank. But you can see so many cavalry are coming around, so I'm going to kind of sacrifice myself to bottle this up and call for allies to get help. Yet another thing you can do for cavalry is if the enemy is going for a base cap, you are going to be the one who's most able to charge in and decap it. So that's what I'm doing here, knocking about some hoplites and, resetting that cap. So for instance here, the enemy is formed up. They have an advantage in the base capture. We're capturing the enemy base, but they have the advantage right up until the point where I charge in, and I try and hit as many units as possible to reset their caps. You can see here, take a look at the top under the timer there. Our base cap is now ahead of the enemy, so a lot of versatility to be had with the cavalry there. And then you sneak out of it with often a lot of kills. So I found that I'm usually going to be getting MVPs when I'm playing cavalry. Lots of points to be had there. And so yeah, that's the cavalry. I do want to show you Hannibal that I did unlock with a little bit of gold, some money I put in here to get him. So unlocked him. And you can get commanders either through gold or free XP. Gold is going to be a quicker way. You can dump some money and then invest in the commander. And I do want to show you some of the Carthaginian roster. We did look at this a little bit before, but I want to show you perhaps more in depth. So you're going to start off with mercenary rabble, pretty cheap spearmen, and then slowly tech it up to Phoenician warriors. And then you can go all the way up to Libyan hoplites, Punic hoplites, get in veterans of Trebia, and then the Carthaginian, sacred band, I would assume there. Another tier is going to be Libyan recruits, some of the Carthaginian heavy infantry, which is pretty powerful. And then here is going to be the African war elephants that I desperately want to get after. So yeah, that is it. Like I said, Hannibal is the new commander that has been added. I'm very excited to get into some matches with some elephants, and this is a great teaser for what's to come. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more interesting factions and content in the future. So yeah, definitely if you think this is interesting, check the link below, try out the game, and definitely, once again, enter in that play TWA code to get your gold to jumpstart your campaign. So that's it. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.